You're playing like Betty White out there.
That's not what your girlfriend said.
Baby! Eat a Snickers. Better?
Really hungry. Grab the big one.
Finally, the episode that has taken months of waiting for has finally arrived. Kaguragi Deboski, one of the biggest enigmas to this show's roster in terms of backstory, finally gets that much needed information. With this week's KingOhger list, KingOhger, we are finally seeing the true enemy of it all. Carbs. Tofu's rice supply is up in flames, but who's to blame but Deboski himself? But that ain't it. Asterix. But it's really new old person. Due to the tofu food supply overcooking, other nations are left to eating bread sandwiches and ice soup. See, this is why I went to public school, cause we couldn't even afford food at the house. It makes me wonder what the school kids in Ishibana are eating right now.
I want some more.
Either way, they got wasabi and flowers. Gross. Now back to tofu, where the face-off and the reason why Rita was specifically selected last week has come into play. It's them ice hacks. Alright, so here we go, and that's it. The hell was that? Well, that's fine, because we've got backup, and they're here to flop as well, because them hungry breaks hitting. So Grody's just gonna cook them up a feast so they can have a fair fight. Look, this B-plot may be good, and it has some setups within the A-plot itself, which really is the whole meat and potatoes of this week's episode. With Deboski confronting his predecessor, Lady Uroki, who he supposedly slayed after she hoarded all of Tofu's food during the deflated but once monumental world-altering event known as the Fury of the Gods.
Furious Godfest 08.
Now you're probably wondering, how did I get here? Lady just on the floor. The roof is on fire. Well, it all started on that one fateful day. Lady Uroki has some of the finest rice she's ever had. Who made it? Why, Deboski, using that family technique. But Uroki wants to take that shit corporate and sell it to the other nations, with him as lead coordinator. Even getting room and board. Probably getting a chance in them cheeks too. He's living it up, but that's when the bugs attacked. Rice was hoarded and the seeds of rebellions get sowed. But what really happened? Uroki was indeed hoarding that rice, gorging on it if you will, but that rice just wasn't right, and she was ingesting poison, causing the fire by pure accident and having Deboski, the most honest guy there is, branded a traitor to his own resolve, taking responsibility for Uroki's downfall and becoming Tofu's brand new ruler. Never revealing to the masses that Uroki knew that the food supply was poison and couldn't allow it to get out into the world. On the B-plot of everything, I guess last week's KingOhger re-triggered the memory that Grody used to be syringe crazy too, as the meal he's prepping goes beyond having MSG. It's got Scorpy. That's not the pun I intended to. You know, we're using it anyway. Yeah, Scorpy's venom makes its return in rice form. And putting two and two together, yeah, he caused the Great Scorpede Rice of 17 years ago.
Scorpede Rice.
And with the full hunger on display, Yanma and co aren't gonna let the food crimes go unpunished. But Grody has got just a form to showcase off as well. And he comes complete with temporary crotch rot, if you will. But Deboski's back in black, and partially because he got down and dirty for his country and is gonna take the aggression out on Grody's new form, taking back his country even if there's rumors about his actions currently circulating. Rating time! Finally, a Debowski heavy episode that gave us peak lore, some gap filling, or rather course correcting on some back end stuff with this furious Godfest and a proper insight into the previous ruler right before Debowski. There's one question that I have after all this, but otherwise, I enjoyed so much of this episode, and it's getting that Sononi Suzume double S rank! Okay, so after all is said and done, why did Grody even have a need to revive Uroki? She literally did nothing wrong and was doing nothing wrong. Even then, she has been the most mentally intact person he's revived. Even Jeremy's mom didn't get that proper insight until she was about to get busted up. Also, she was controlled by Dugdead, while Uroki seems to have no signs of any of that. So I really feel that outside of giving us the narrative interaction between her and Debowski, there was no need to really bring her back. I also don't see Grody's reasoning, as also, if people weren't accepting of Grody being their king, why would they accept brought back ruler who supposedly ruined them 17 years prior? Now, on the production side of things, I totally see why they revived her, because the actress playing Uroki is played by the wife of Grody's actor, which makes me wonder if they did some roleplay shenanigans after they were done filming. That's my nitpick for this episode. Otherwise, like I mentioned before, the bringing back of the syringe as Grody based the rice in poison is a nice touch, as the implications are really made clear this episode. If tofu had sent out tainted food to the masses, not only would the loss of life be dramatic, but it would make other nations no longer trust the food giant even if they changed the leadership. The damage to the nation would have already been done. As such, it's easy to see that Uroki's endgame had no good end. Either let the food go out and be branded as a monster, or hoard the food to destroy yourself and still get branded as a monster. But you don't let your country fall in the process. It's the path of least resistance. And with the current happenings right now, Debowski is continuously painting himself as a monster as to not let the secrets of the food get out. It just makes me wonder how they will wipe his slate clean at the end, or if he plans on installing a replacement. As the other major takeaway from this episode is that Suzume really appears to have always been the boss of Debowski, back then guiding his hand on which path he would take, while also stoking the flames of rebellion, putting him at the top and instantly declaring him as the ruler after Uroki is down. It makes me wonder if Suzume is indeed just really playing the long game for real, since she seems so adamant to clutching power. Now back to the real highlight of the episode, and that was Debowski being one of those goofy honest guys prior to the events of the past. It really flips perspective on why he feels the need to deceive so much, just for the sake of his country. Really, he has the most vision and integrity for his country and what it stands for over any of the other kings. And we see what lengths he's willing to go for. I've had my curiosities about him before, but with the storytelling going hand in hand, I look really forward to seeing what he's got in store for us. Grody finally reveals that his human form isn't his true form and shows us what he's supposed to look like, and it's okay. They really took his swirl eyes and made it work for a snail. But I always wonder if this was always in the card, or if they chose to go that route after getting the actor on board. Because likewise, if he's capable of shape-shifting like Kamajim, then he easily could have looked different 17 years ago. But they kinda screwed the pooch on that plot thread. And yes, I'm still a bit upset that the Fury of the Gods plotline, in terms of Grody's action, just seems more and more meh, as we start seeing the inconsistencies of certain key events play out in the current timeline. So yeah, that is it for this week's KingOhger. And it looks like next week, Rita fans get the exact opposite of what they claimed they liked the character for to begin with. Surely, they're gonna hate it. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? What did you think about this week's Tofu-Ohger? Debowski's Truth to Liar Syndrome, Suzume being the real advancer, and Nasty Rice. Anyway, that's it for me. Until next time, bye.